Imagine serving your country with honor, only to be disrespected by the very people you swore to protect. In this story, we follow a Black Navy SEAL who faces an unexpected confrontation with a police officer whose prejudice leads to an unjust encounter. What starts as a routine moment quickly spirals into an act of blatant discrimination. But this Navy SEAL isn't one to back down. His response, an epic, composed fight back that leaves the officer and everyone else stunned. Stay tuned to see how this encounter unfolds and the powerful message it sends about courage, respect, and standing up for what's right. You won't want to miss how this brave man's actions turn the tables and demand accountability in a way that no one saw coming. The story begins on an ordinary day, with our Navy SEAL, James, returning home after months of deployment. Proudly wearing his uniform, he stops by a local convenience store. Little does he know, a simple trip for a drink is about to take a dramatic turn. As he exits the store, he's approached by Officer Harris, a patrol cop with a history of making snap judgments. Her eyes narrow as she sizes him up, and it's clear she's made her mind up about him before he's even had a chance to speak. James remains calm, respectful, and cooperative, but it quickly becomes apparent that Harris is looking for a reason to escalate the situation. Despite his attempts to diffuse the tension, she accuses him of loitering and refuses to acknowledge his military service. The scene draws the attention of bystanders, their murmurs creating a tense backdrop as the confrontation unfolds. All eyes are on James, waiting to see how he will respond. James stands his ground, maintaining a calm demeanor despite the rising tension. He explains his situation, hoping to reason with Officer Harris. But her stern expression doesn't soften. Instead, she doubles down, demanding identification and questioning why he's there. Onlookers begin recording, sensing the brewing injustice. Meanwhile, James' thoughts race. He's faced adversaries in combat, but this confrontation feels different, an attack on his identity and honor. He recalls the values instilled in him during his service: integrity, courage, and respect. These principles guide him now, even as Harris' tone grows harsher. The crowd's whispers become louder, some questioning the officer's behavior, others siding with her authority. James knows he must tread carefully. A single wrong move could escalate the situation further, yet he refuses to be intimidated. With each passing moment, the weight of the conflict grows heavier, and the question lingers: how far will this go, and what will it take to end it? As the tension reaches a boiling point, Officer Harris, visibly frustrated, decides to take things further. She accuses James of resisting her authority, raising her voice in an attempt to assert control. The onlookers grow restless, their murmurs turning into audible concerns. James, still composed, calmly tries to de-escalate, reminding her of his rights and the respect he's earned as a Navy SEAL. But Harris isn't listening. She's too caught up in her own assumptions. Suddenly, Harris makes a move to detain him, placing her hand on her radio, calling for backup. The situation teeters on the edge of chaos, with the crowd watching in shocked disbelief. James knows he's running out of options. Every second feels like an eternity as he weighs his next move. Should he stand down or take a firm stand? The tension in the air is palpable, and everyone is left wondering what will happen next as the confrontation teeters on the brink of an explosive climax. Just as the situation seems ready to spiral out of control, a second officer arrives on the scene. Unlike Harris, this officer recognizes James instantly. It's clear from his expression that he's familiar with James' service record and the honor he carries. He approaches cautiously, sensing the delicate nature of the standoff. Before he can intervene, Harris, still determined to assert her authority, reaches for her handcuffs. But then James makes a calculated decision. With a steady voice, he speaks up, recounting his recent deployment and the sacrifices he's made for his country. His words, filled with quiet strength, ripple through the crowd. For a moment, even Harris seems taken aback, her grip on the cuffs loosening slightly. The second officer steps in, attempting to mediate, but Harris isn't ready to back down. The tension heightens as both officers now stand at odds, and the crowd watches, holding their breath. The stakes have never been higher, and the next moments will determine how this explosive encounter finally unfolds. As the second officer tries to calm the situation, James takes a deep breath, knowing this moment could define everything. He looks Harris in the eye and calmly states, "I've given everything for this country, including the right for you to stand here today." His words resonate deeply, cutting through the tension like a knife. The crowd falls silent, absorbing the weight of his statement. Harris hesitates, her authority visibly shaken. Just when it seems she might relent, a voice from the crowd speaks up, an elderly man who steps forward, revealing himself as a retired military officer. He vouches for James, recounting his own experiences with service and the prejudice he's faced. His testimony adds an unexpected layer to the unfolding drama, turning the tide of public opinion. Realizing the gravity of her actions, Harris finally lowers her hands, her face a mix of confusion and regret. The second officer steps in, guiding her away gently, while James stands tall, his dignity intact. The crowd begins to disperse, leaving behind a sense of resolution, but not before the elderly man turns to James with a knowing nod, hinting at an unspoken bond. The unexpected twist leaves everyone reflecting on the true meaning of respect and justice. As the crowd slowly disperses, James stands quietly, processing the intensity of the moment. The second officer approaches him, offering a sincere apology on behalf of the department. James, ever gracious, accepts it, understanding that change comes one step at a time. The elderly man gives James a firm handshake, a silent gesture of respect that speaks volumes. Later, as James walks away from the scene, he reflects on the day's events. It wasn't just about standing up for himself, it was about shedding light on a larger issue. His calm but firm response left an indelible mark on everyone present, reminding them of the power of dignity and courage in the face of injustice. Back at home, James feels a renewed sense of purpose. His actions didn't just defend his honor, they sparked a conversation about respect, service, and equality that will continue to echo long after the day is done.